The North Carolina Tar Heels were down by 16 with just over 12 minutes to go. They looked like they were staring at death at 6-6. And R.J. Davis and Ian Jackson wouldn't let that happen. 76-74, North Carolina takes down number 18 UCLA. Randolph Childress, what did Carolina show you? What does this say about them?
I don't know if it answered any questions. I just think it was a desperate win that they had to have, and they found a way to figure it out and get the win. For some strange reason, this team digs itself in a hole, and then it plays its best basketball to dig itself out of it. Even during a losing streak, it just ran out of gas at the end of games. Tonight they didn't. This afternoon they didn't run out of gas. They just finished the game. Credit to those guys. I mean, the same style of play, nothing changed. I mean, it's just going to be led by their guards. They're not going to get a ton of production from the inside. Whatever production they get is going to come from offensive rebounds. What we're seeing from Carolina is the way they're going to have to play. But they just seem to be able to play better when they're just down and they just let their hair down and just go and just hoop. They just compete and just play. I mean, I don't know what it is. I think if Hubert knew he suggested or suggest something to his guys, make changes, do something different. But this team just digs itself in a hole. And then it almost like it hits a switch and just say, all right, let's compete and get back in this game. Fortunately for them today, I thought their season might have been on the line early as far as getting quality wins, because when they get into conference play, I don't know how many ranked teams or opponents they're going to play. So credit to Tar Heels for, I think, getting that signature when they need it is going to help them, come seeding in March.
Yeah, it was massive, not just because they were able to make the comeback and because of what they showed, right? It was massive because you just need to start stacking wins right now.
Wins.
If you're North Carolina. Yeah, you just got to get wins. You got to get stuff on your resume because there is not a ton in their resume. And getting that neutral court win over Dayton, the comeback that they had, I think is going to have legs. I think we're going to look at them in March, and they're going to be a top 20-ish kind of a team, right? And this win over UCLA is going to be in the mix for a Big Ten regular season title on a neutral court. This is going to have some legs. And if you look at who they've actually lost to, right? They lost at Fog Allen Fieldhouse in a game that they led in the final minute, right? They lost to Michigan State on a neutral floor in overtime. They lost to Florida on a neutral floor, semi-home floor, I guess, but on a neutral floor in a game where they led with, they were up by, with, 4 minutes left in that game, or tied with 4 minutes left, whatever it was. They don't have a bad loss to their name. They have 5 losses to teams that are all ranked in the top 21 on KenPom. 4 of them are in the top 10. Only one of them is at home. And yes, they got smacked by Auburn, and yes, they got smacked by Alabama. But I think if you look at what North Carolina is right now, they're built to kind of make a run here in the ACC and start stacking wins in the ACC. And maybe if they can get a win over Duke, we're going to have a different conversation about them once you get to tournament time. And I think this is probably putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit here, Randolph. But I do think that when you think back to what Alabama was last season, right? Alabama went into SEC play with 5 losses to their name. Like, no one thought that they were going to be a team that was going to be able to make a run. There were questions about what they were defensively. They had questions on the interior. Grant Nelson was at the 5, and they were able to put things together, and they made a run to the Final Four last season. I'm not saying that that's what North Carolina is going to do this year, but I don't think that the start that they had to this season, scheduling difficult and having some of these bad losses, is the kind of thing that should make us like it's the season ain't over for North Carolina at this point, especially if they start playing and starting, in the words of Tyler Hansbrough, in Jackson. They got to play in Jackson a little bit more.
All right. So first off, this is not Randolph's ACC. And look, it's not even the ACC from 5 years ago. Alabama's non-conference schedule was extraordinary. I think it was even harder than what Carolina just got done facing. And Alabama did make up for it in the SEC, which offered more opportunities. The fact is, Carolina better start stacking wins in the ACC, because the ACC is incredibly stackable for them. Because here's the thing about ACC play. There's much more harm than there is reward. In the ACC, you're talking about if they can get a result over Duke, that would get them, that would get us thinking differently about them. The fact is, that's not for another 10 games. They don't play Duke until February 1st. Let's look at their upcoming schedule, Randolph. They've got Campbell. Then they go to Louisville. Like, look, guys, at Louisville is going to be hard for this Carolina team. They don't have a front court that can be relied upon. Jackson was much better in this game. Jackson and Drake Powell keep coming along and making progress. Seth Trimble didn't shoot it well, but they overcame it and figured out a way. But when you look at this league, Notre Dame, SMU, there's just not a lot to move the needle there. At NC State, home to Cal, home to Stanford, who appears to be better, but that's just it. Until they go to Wake Forest, Randolph, on January 21st, that's what's going against them. Do I think that their season's over? No, of course not. I think they absolutely can be a tournament team. But I think, to Rob's point, I would say, Randolph, that North Carolina, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see them in like an 8-9 type of game, because in the ACC, there's just not a heaping amount of opportunities to truly move that needle on the resume.
I don't disagree with you guys. They needed this win. They needed to get a win against a quality ranked opponent, and they got it. Neutral site, whatever it is, they just needed to win.
Absolutely.
The issue that they're going to have is that no matter, even if they go 15-5, right, which will be really good in ACC play, that'll put them right there at the top. It's who they lose to, I think, is the critical thing. Like, they got to lose to some teams at the top of the key. This win gives them insurances that they can afford that. Whereas I think conference play, you're going to beat each other up. There are no easy games. I don't care who you are, right? We're going to get into the SEC in a little bit there, and I couldn't even pick right now who'd be the worst team in that league, and it's going to be, you're going to take some lumps in the conference play. So what is UNC's tournament run goes? Is it 15-5? Is it 14-6? Like, who do they lose to in conference play? Will there be any bad losses for them, like losing to, I don't know, Vatek or someone like that? Does it cancel out these wins? But they needed this win, man. Credit to those guys, because had they lost this, it would have been all doom and gloom going forward, and you would have been trying to fast forward, look for games that they could win. They got it now. I think they can just take care of business, knowing that they got a couple of wins. Like Rob said, that Dayton win is going to age well. This win was huge. Now they got to get in the conference play. Minimum, they'll split with Duke. They always do. That's just how that rivalry goes. That'll get them a third one, and then you just got to avoid the bad losses. Losing to a Clemson, losing to a Wake. I don't think those, maybe a Pitt, those aren't bad losses, but they got to avoid those multiple losses from the bottom of the conference.
I will just say this. If North Carolina goes 15-5 in the ACC, and they finish the season at 21-10, right? 15-5 probably gets you second place in the league. If they go 21-10 and finish second place in the league, I don't care who they beat or who they lose to. That team is dancing. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
They go 15-5.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Of course.
They're in.
Yeah,
it's North Carolina.
No, I don't think nobody's arguing
Carolina.
that. I'm not arguing that. No, when you put out the Alabama comp. Alabama.
That was more. Yeah, no, look, I hear you. I'm not saying that North Carolina is going to be a Final Four team. What I am saying is that there are teams that have rough non-conference seasons that are able to kind of put things together because they took their lumps in the non-conference, and there's no bad. Like, look at who they lost to, man. The worst losses.
Yeah,
what?
Rob,
Like
to
Michigan
your point,
State
there's no bad losses for them.
No, but RC, shouldn't Carolina go 15-5 in the ACC?
Yeah, they should go better. Let's be honest.
No, I think 15-5 would be good. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that much separation between them and the rest of the teams in this league, and excluding Duke. I don't think that they're. I think it's. There's only a few teams I think that they could. You say, all right, for them, they couldn't. It'd be a bad loss for them. But other than that, going in when they play at Wake, going to Clemson, playing at Pitt, when Notre Dame gets Marcus Burton back, those will be some decent teams that wouldn't be any shame to harm in losing to those teams. And they will lose to them. They're going to lose some of these games. I mean, it's just conference play.
All right.